Barcelona's perfect, if not largely untested, preseason came to an end with the official squad presentation and a 5-0 thrashing of Como in the Joan Gamper Trophy. A fun tradition to get everybody excited for the new season, as if we weren't already chomping at the bit. Well, in episode 710 of the Barcelona podcast, brought to you by the Blue Wire Podcast Network, I am Dan Hilton. I want to thank everybody that joined me on Big Up for the watch long this afternoon. I also want to thank everybody who's joined on YouTube as a subscriber. We are now heading above 35,000, 36,000. I'm loving to see all the love I'm getting in recent times. And I want to thank everybody that's ever given a like or followed on the podcast apps. Please help me out as I give a thank you also to the Patreons as I start this new season. I will still have all of our shows without the ads over there for as low as $3. And I would implore everybody to join me next week for the watch along against Mallorca on Big Up, and then be on the lookout for the 5 headlines shortly thereafter. So with all that out of the way, here are the 5 headlines from Barcelona's Joan Gamper Trophy win in the 5-0 win over Como 1907. Headline 1 is Vibe Check. Not just 48 hours ago, I was talking about Ter Stegen, giving an update on him signing the medical form, and now it seems that even 48 hours later, the Rocky issue has been resolved, as Ter Stegen stood there as the first captain with the microphone in hand, saw some applause, definitely didn't see many boos, and he also didn't hide the fact that things have been rocky and are now resolved with the club. It was exactly what he had to say and do, and he did it. Now, I do wonder how soon the fans who are reasonable may turn back the other way and forgive him online, but we know that online isn't real life. I do try to have hope in people, but much like I try to have hope in Barca's high line, sometimes it works for me and sometimes it doesn't. Let's start this game with a starting lineup that is pretty good for Barcelona, a pretty strong starting 11 with no Lewandowski, no Dani Olmo. That meant that Rashford and Fermin Lopez, those are your starters for this one. And this one was all about Como's beginning. It was a crazy start for Como, breaking in transition, onside initially, but offside on the rebound. Joan Garcia saved it anyway, in what would have been a great save, in what was Joan Garcia's certainly best match for Barcelona so far, and the kind of thing that excited for the people watching at home. There's a reason why he and Ter Stegen were both wearing number 1. One symbolically, and one because he's a starting goalkeeper for Barcelona. The only real thing that jumped out to me in the first 20 minutes is that I did like Rashford movement. While Barcelona had a hard time finding him in space and getting the ball to feet, I did like how hard he was working. And while he did, I think at times struggle to play with his back to goal, he does well to move everything vertically and adds a different dimension to that attack. Then by the 20th minute, Lamine Yamal was starting to wake up. He took a chance, it went wide, but that pressure that Barcelona was starting to build did pay dividends in the 21st minute. The press was in action. Fermin Lopez stepped into an interception, had a second to compose himself, let it go hard and low into the corner to be the 1-0. It was a really awful decision by Como to pass it into the middle of the park to the top of your own 18. You don't want to see that. But that kind of mistake is going to happen. Maybe not by the top teams, but hey, middle of the road teams are going to do that. And Serie A, number 10 spot last season in Como, they're a good side and a good test for the preseason. So I do think there is some credence to Barca's press being pretty dangerous in this match. While the first 30 minutes weren't necessarily anything exciting jumping off the page, there wasn't a lot of action to speak of. As much as both teams were putting the shift in some tough heat, it did look like the heat was affecting the match. And one final thing that did stand out for me in the first 30 minutes of the match was a little conversation I want to have about Eric Garcia. Tactically, we saw a lot more Eric Garcia stepping in to create a wall of 3 with the 2 other center backs. This season, more than last season. More last season, he was supporting Lamine Yamal out on the right side. And with the reintroduction of Araujo without Inigo Martinez to likely, we'll see about Christensen, taking over that starting spot and moving Kubarsi over to the left, Eric was relied on quite a bit more with the ball when next to Araujo. So that brings up the question that I think is something interesting for Culés to ponder. Is Eric the better offensive fit next to Araujo over Koundé? Because Eric is better on the ball than Koundé. I will say Como was perfect for this because of the way that they pressed. Eric is much more press resistant than Koundé. Now, you're going to have teams where they have fantastic 1v1 speedy wingers that Koundé physically is going to do better than Eric Garcia. But for teams that are going to press that you can break through, Eric Garcia next to Araujo might be the option, especially if we're going to have more possession. So I'm interested to see if Koundé is just, let's write him in pen on that starting lineup, or if Eric Garcia does have a reason to get some starts and more starts than you think next to Araujo this season. Headline 2 is don't poke the Yamal. Como had to learn this lesson the hard way. In the 29th minute, Lamine Yamal dribbled 3, won the corner, but it was the extracurricular that I think changed this match. He then used those new muscles after he dribbled the 3 to stand up for himself after Van der Bremt put him on the ground. Van der Bremt probably could have more to say in that little exchange if Kemp, the other center back, hadn't totally whiffed and was on the ground himself. But still, he got in Lamine Yamal's face. And with that, Lamine Yamal, that mean streak that you don't always see from the kid, maybe that's something new into his arsenal. He obviously kept his head, so I don't worry about that. And the fact that he just raised his level, that says a lot about maybe the way that his game is evolving. And now, if guys get in his face, well, he's an 18-year-old man. He can stand up for himself, and he did. By the 35th minute, Barca are up 2-0. Como let Lamine Yamal get too deep. They had two trying to defend him. He tried the cheeky nutmeg, and it just worked. Sometimes the ball bounces your way, and that's what happened. He got around two. The ball bounces out to De Jong on the other deflection. He squares it to Fermin. One touch to set himself up in the top corner finish. As Fermin Lopez, early in his career, and even last season, we can be critical of his finishing. But his finishing, at least in the preseason, has been on point. And now it's up 2-0 for Barcelona. The question for Fermin after this match that I would implore people to wonder, because again, this is a praise for Fermin Lopez, can he take the starting spot from Olmo? I feel like when Olmo isn't playing, we do kind of downplay just how good he is in tight spaces. It really is Lamine Yamal and Pedri and Olmo. That is your big three of Barcelona possession in small spaces. And Olmo does open up a lot for the number 9, whoever that may be, more than Fermin does. Fermin is much more of a runner. But Fermin, with the goals, also puts a bit more pressure from the top of the 18. And when you're going to press like this, looks like Fermin is also a better option than Olmo. And very much like Eric Garcia and Koundé, between Fermin and Olmo, Fermin at 22 has gotten better. And we know that Olmo very likely will not be staying healthy, as he already has that muscle overload right now. We could see much more of a split than Hansi Flick having a Gala 11. Headline 3 is Rashford high and Rashford low. More highlights to talk about. The 3-0 came in the 37th minute with Barcelona flying high, working down the right side, and it's a wonderful, a beautiful, a picture-perfect third-man run from Rashford, who started this play in a deeper spot. Eric to Fermin, into the path of Rashford, and a perfect feed for Rafinha at the back post. Rashford and Lewandowski, I'm already feeling those discussions about the pros and cons coming to effect. Lewandowski, I think he's going to score more goals. He's more clinical than Rashford is, even at his advanced age. And he's also better, I still think, with his back to goal. But Rashford obviously is much more of a runner, and he's much more dynamic in a lot of different ways vertically. So very much like Eric Garcia, very much like Fermin Lopez. These different positional conversations we're beginning to have is what will be best against the opposition. And it's going to be on Hansi Flick to make those decisions accordingly. And so how much trust do we have in Hansi Flick to make correct personnel choices when, unlike last season, the Gala 11 shouldn't be as set in stone as it was before? That's a good problem to have, and it means there's a lot of institutional trust that Hansi Flick needs to have in year 2. 5 minutes after the third goal, here's the fourth goal. Lamine Yamal, Barcelona pressing again. It's great positioning by the midfield and the back line, and Balde pinching high. Como couldn't deal with the pressure, so Rafinha puts Van der Bremt under pressure, and Van der Bremt shouldn't mess with Lamine Yamal, because here comes Rafinha. He gives it away, and it's a toe poke for Lamine Yamal into the net, and Barcelona at this point are all over Como, and this match is finished. It could have really been put to bed in the first half, though. 45+1, Rashford with a shocking miss, and I mean shocking miss. Lamine Yamal used his strength to win the ball. Instead of going cross field, though, he slithers a through ball into Rashford. This was visionary from Lamine Yamal. Rashford out-dribbles the goalkeeper and the defender, does all the hard things, does all the hard part, and then misses on the wide open net. Yeah, this should have been a goal, but Rashford, fortunately for him, his team was up 4-0. And it is preseason, so I'm hoping we can all put that behind us, and we don't see too many of those things going wrong in the regular season. Headline 4 is Ferran Torres medium and Ferran Torres low. At halftime, Koundé on for Eric, and Rashford heads out for Ferran Torres. And I couldn't really say that Ferran Torres was high because he didn't score the goal, but he did pick up the assist in the 49th minute for the 5-0. It starts at the back, and Balde was given, this is just a breakdown by Como, way too much space to dribble upfield, straight down the middle. He gives it to Torres, keeps it moving to Lamine Yamal. And the most impressive thing about this goal was probably not the fact that Como didn't slide over to Lamine Yamal, but the fact that Yamal passed it in for a one-timer. This is really good just to let the rhythm of the ball and the pace the ball has redirect it into the goal. Not much the keeper could do. Which does beg the question, as Lamine Yamal also had a brace in this game, how many goals is Lamine Yamal scoring this year? I'll give you a second to think about it, and then I'll let you know that I did predict 20 and 20 as a fair result for Lamine Yamal. That's really hard to do. Messi made it easy, but 20 goals, 20 assists, not easy. I said he could be pushing to 25 and 25. It feels like a lot, but this preseason with his improved scoring, maybe it isn't. We'll see what happens when the competition gets a little bit better and match fitness matters a bit more and the stakes get a bit higher for him. We'll see if he can throw away all his distractions. But if he's going to score goals at this rate, yeah, 25 and 25 is very much on the table for Lamine Yamal this season. In the 51st, that's a Ferran Torres low. It's another cataclysmic miss from a Barcelona number 9. This time, it's Ferran Torres. Lamine Yamal gave it to him, but he went across his body with the left foot instead of the tap in with the right. He was wrong-footed on the run. He didn't plant the right way, and yeah, it just got him all out of sorts. So a miss from Ferran Torres and a miss from Rashford. Maybe Lewandowski's just going to be the starter, and he doesn't really have to earn it. The other guys are going to miss like that. And then headline 5 is more positives at the back and on the bench. I haven't talked about them in this match really at all, but Araujo and Cubarsí were sneaky fantastic after the first 15 minutes or so of this game. We saw a bounce-back game from Cubarsí, dealing with the speedy João in the second half. He did get that being Cubarsí wrong-footed in the 89th minute when he tried to intercept. Unfortunately, João missed the breakaway with pressure from Christensen, but that was really the one moment from Cubarsí. And Araujo and Cubarsí, Balde and Eric, and then Koundé coming in the second half, I thought that offside line was already ready to go. It seemed like the timing was down. And remember, just because something looks offside and the team has that breakaway, if it was offside, then it doesn't matter. The result is finalized, as close as it had to be. But offside is offside. So yes, Barcelona were playing with fire last year, and they're going to play with fire again. But if they're going to be as good as they were today against even higher level competition, they're going to do just fine this season. And those goals are not going to be pouring in the way people are anticipating. 54th minute, a reminder that the other change at the back this season is Joan Garcia. He held his ground against Adair as he put a long and hard shot in. He made the saves he had to make, and I also thought he was better with the ball at his feet than we even had to expect. He had one giveaway that was pretty not great, but Joan Garcia, even the level that he was today with the ball at his feet, if that can be his level when the other team is pressing, I'd sign up for that every day of the week. And I think as Ter Stegen saying, hey, that's the thing I'm supposed to be doing. If Joan Garcia can play with the ball at his feet like that, it's going to be real hard to take those gloves away from him because he also came off his line with a lot more urgency. And there were multiple breakaways that Como had in this game where he made it look simple and easy. And I don't know about Tech and Ter Stegen, but it just felt like they would have made a little bit more of a meal of it because they're not as quick as him off his line. Joan Garcia, I thought this was the match that gave me the confidence for him for the regular season. 68th minute, let's start to talk about subs here. Pedri off for Gabi. Sergio Roberto got some applause from the Barcelona crowd. And a reminder that time does heal all wounds. And his legacy, which if you had asked people online before he left, was that we hate him, get out of the club. No, that's not true. He was a good servant, and he won a lot of trophies, and the fans in Catalonia did reward him with some applause. 77th minute, Hansi Flick, a long talk for Gerard Martin. Really interesting here before the last batch of changes. Casado, Rooney, Tony Fernandez, Gerard Martin, Joe Fernandez, and Christensen all coming in. And this did result in a change of formation, which I was pretty excited by because the young players, instead of saying, you've got to fit in my system, you've got to fit in this perfect box, it looked like because Tony Fernandez and Joe Fernandez do look like they're ready for first team opportunities, they don't look out of place at all. Even on that press, they're in the right spots. The rest defense did not get any worse with them on the field. And while they didn't score while they were on the field, I'm not too worried about that because of where the game state was. The game was totally over already. 81st minute was the example for this. Tony is tucked in as an inverted left winger. He started to play a lot deeper, dropping to receive the ball. And then both he and Dro, as the ball is moved through different phases of field, were both as the 10s in the middle of the field in possession. And Barcelona have the ability to then take the ball away on that press centrally, protect the middle of the park. And they were doing that with a bunch of teenagers who both have the ability and potential to receive the ball in tight spaces and keep that thing moving. And that's what they did. I don't feel like those two, or Jofre Torrens, who came in the 89th minute for Barcy, or Rooney, got a few minutes here in this one too, none of them look out of place at all contributing to the first team. And the fact that, again, they were trusted to change formation ever so slightly, have Dro as the 10 drifting a bit more to the right, have Tony Fernandez drifting a bit more to the left, and then Gerard Martin playing as that high left winger, and the back three, of course, with Koundé shifting over. So a little slight change of formation that we could see more often this season. That's really exciting and says that Hansi Flick trusts his players to have the sense and understanding that their best attributes are best suited by whatever formation that the collective who's currently on the field is able to perform under Hansi Flick's direction. So Hansi Flick, I think you had a pretty great preseason. All thumbs up for me. As next week, I will give you all a thumbs up if you join me on Saturday for the watch along on Big Up. That will be a good time, just as these watch alongs have been in the preseason. And I feel like I have shaken off the rust. I am ready for the season to start, as are you. So please subscribe to the YouTube channel. Help me out on the podcast apps, Patreon, all that stuff. All right, let's get it. Regular season is about to begin. Horse Barca.